Yeah, so first off, I just want to say good afternoon, everybody. Today, we're going to be kind of diving a little bit deeper into our agency platform. We're going to be mainly going over the layout builder and kind of structures and kind of the things that you can do with it. Um, I think mainly while you're building your websites or you're kind of working on them to add in or to improve upon them, layout builder is going to be a really key component into how that look and feel. Maybe that's something you're trying to go. So again, we're trying to make these things a lot more user friendly than they were in the past. I know some of you may have some extensive Drupal knowledge of how to place the blocks and then put it into certain regions and having to move things around. I know it can get a little bit convoluted, but it is something that I think we definitely want to kind of simplify in that process to kind of allow anybody to do that. So, but with that being said, I think one of the things that we're going to do with this one is kind of give you a different role to kind of take a look at. This is going to be the power user role. So for those of you who attended the first training, that's where we kind of went over the basics of everything. We're going to be building off of that a little bit. If you didn't attend that training, no worries. You can definitely still kind of see the capabilities that we can do with the layouts and with your pages. Maybe you might pick up on a few things here and there. But if you have some advanced knowledge, you might not need that first initial basics training, but we will be offering that again in about 2 weeks. I think March 9th is the date. We'll go over the basics as well. We also have a recording from that first meeting, so we can always send that to you as well. But let's go ahead and let's get started here. So click through. Okay, so first things first, my name is Vince Salgado, for those of you who do not know. So I'm in charge of the agency platform. We are currently going through a migration phase where we're moving over from D7 to D9. A lot of our sites obviously are built with our agency platform, and we are offering that out to agencies to kind of take advantage of to kind of build their own website. So today we're going to be kind of going over what about the platform and how to kind of use it and kind of the little tools that you're able to kind of use to build your layouts and your pages for your websites. But I'm going to kick it over to Ralph. If you can introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Ralph. I'm one of the developers here at the agency platform. So a lot of you guys probably get emails from me, but yep, working on the D9 migration and helping support you guys any way I can.
All right.
Well,
yeah, and I'll kick it over to Will.
Hi, my name is Will. I'm the business analyst on the agency platform team. I'm the reason you don't get the emails until last minute for these trainings, but I'm going to fix that today.
Yeah, and then lastly, I did see that Thomas joined. Thomas is going to put you on the spot a little bit. If you could introduce yourself. Or not. Well, Thomas Williams is here. He is a part of our agency maintenance team. So when you put in a ticket to kind of get things fixed on your website, it's him and his coworker. Oh my God, why am I blanking on his name? Matt. Sorry, I don't know why I was blanking on his name. Matt. They're the ones that are kind of will address your tickets and kind of help you kind of fix things that as you find on your website. We're going to go ahead and get started here. So today what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be going over layouts, again, kind of playing around with the layout builder, what you can kind of do in there. We're going to take a look at custom blocks. Now, I know from the last meeting we did, you guys learned how to kind of create those custom blocks. We're going to kind of teach you how to create reusable custom blocks. So when you have created them in the past, they've been kind of just a one time, you uploaded them there and then you're good to go for just that one time. And for 80% of the time, that's probably what you're going to do. And that's what you're going to need to do. So, but however, there are going to be times where maybe you want the same block appeared on multiple different pages. And there's an easy way to do that without having to keep recreating that block over and over again. Obviously, that won't be helpful in the future because if you want to change something in one place, you have to go to the other 3 places you may have done it. So we're going to go over those reusable blocks. We're going to go over kind of the responsive design and what's built in with these layout builders. And then we're going to get a little creative with how to kind of play around with this and kind of show you how you can manipulate what's in the layout builder, kind of really build unique pages that would be beneficial for your website. So first off, I'm going to give you guys the link to log into this website. So let me just pull it up here. So if everybody could log into this site, you can use that username and password. I'll be doing it along with you guys. So I'm going to share my screen. And then it is password, capital P, 1, 2, 3, 4. Put it in correctly. Whoops, here we go. This should be one word, training user. There we go. All right. So once you're logged in, the first thing you'll see, obviously, to know you're logged in, you'll see this admin bar to the left. You may have it open or closed. Closed, it kind of just looks like this. But if you want to kind of see those wordings that go along next to it, you can go ahead and just click this button at the bottom, and it will show you just what you're hovering over. So again, this might be a little bit more than what you're used to seeing. So right now, I've actually upgraded this to a power user, just because there's one thing that I want us to do that's not available for a regular content editor. And that's something that we're going to change in the future. So something we're going to add on just so you have the ability to be able to see that. But most of the stuff that we're going to be doing today, you're going to be able to do with a content editor role. It's just going to be the reusable blocks is one thing that we need to just change the permission on to get a content editor up to date to where it needs to be. So again, so I'm going to start off here. We're going to be going over the layouts of things. So the first thing that I want to do here is, Joseph, the password is actually, it's capital P and then the word password, 1, 2, 3, 4. Write that down. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do here, I'm just going to create a basic page. Now, I know we went over this last time, so I'm sure you guys are familiar with creating a basic page. Here, I'm just going to call this one cool page again. So I'm going to leave the body blank because I know I'm going to be creating the landing page here. We're going to be playing around with the layout. The body is something that I'm not going to want in there. You can obviously have a body and have a block that is just the text of the body, what you're doing there. However, editing that text would be different from everything else. So I usually just avoid it. And then I will put it in a text block in there for how I want the body. And we'll go over that in a second. So for this one, I'm just going to add it to the main menu. Going to provide a menu link here. Parent navigation, just the main navigation. It's going to be a top level item. So I'm going to go ahead and click save here. Okay. And then I have just a basic page here. So this obviously just gives me a blank template. And then I'm going to want to go in, and I know I'm going to want to add in probably a banner or some other things, and we'll go over that here in a second. So the first thing here, I'm going to go to a layout. And now I have my layout. So again, layout builder, get familiar with it because it's definitely something that when you're creating kind of static landing pages where you want to manipulate or kind of add in certain things in here and there, definitely get familiar with how this is. By default, again, if you're just kind of making basic interior pages, the body field, adding that in there is fine. It will appear right here in this section at the at the bottom with the main navigation to the right, which is, once you start stacking in those sub pages, they'll start building out that menu to the right without you having to worry too much about that. So, but for this purposes, because we're going to be kind of working on landing pages and how this layout builder works, I'm going to get rid of these because I don't need them for this particular page that I am working on. So I'm just going to remove this block, this body field, remove that. And then I'm going to remove this main navigation here, which would be the sub navigation for when you're building pages, like I was just saying. So I'm going to remove that block as well. Now, if you accidentally remove that and maybe you wanted the body field and that sub navigation for your page, you can always go back in by adding a block and then finding it on this initial list as it loads. Okay. You can find it on this initial list. There is a menu section where you can go back in, add the menu, add the main menu navigation, and just have be the second layer. So you can always fix those things. So just because I removed it doesn't necessarily mean I deleted it completely. You can always add it back in. Same thing with the body. I can go in here. I can find the body, which is right here. Click that, and it adds that page body back in there. So, but for this purposes, we are going to go ahead and just go forward. So, as you guys know, as you guys were familiar with it, we were kind of just working with the basic layout of what is here. So we have the ability, though, to kind of add a little bit more than what is just out of the box here. So, but quickly, let's just kind of recap some of those things that we worked on last time. So for this top region, I'm just going to add in a basic banner, just because I want my page to have that banner image on the top. So I'm going to create a custom block, go into the banner. Again, I'm just going to use the default title it has for this one. I'm going to call it title, the cool page description. This is the body. That's the body of the banner. I'll put a URL in here. Google link text, more. Then I'm going to add a media here. So I'm going to grab one of the old images I used from the last training. Do my crops here. I would just say image of someone making carne. What's up? And in your alternative text, be as descriptive as you can be. Again, those are for people who are vision impaired. They will the screen readers that they have will read back that alternative text when it comes up to an image. So definitely want to be as descriptive as you can be. I'm going to apply my crops here. Square crop. Now I know that all crops are applied because it says cropping applied at the bottom of each one. And then go ahead and click save. And it's selected. I'm going to insert this image for this block. I'm going to add an overlay to this one. The text color can be white. Again, you can change that to be black if you had a very light image in there. So now I have added my banner image in here. I'm going to click Save Layout here at the top. So that's kind of just a quick recap of those things that we've kind of learned already with the layout builder. But does anybody have any questions so far? Okay. So the next thing I want to show you, so we'll go ahead and continue on here. The next thing that I want to kind of go over is that now that we're kind of getting familiar with how to use this layout builder, one of the things that you might want to do is that, well, now I want to kind of create a page that has 3 columns where it has 3 different texts right side by side with each other. So if I wanted to do that for this particular page, I'm going to go ahead and click Add Section here. Now, you'll see that button throughout the layout builder. It's just a matter of where you want to put that section. So what a section means is that it is the area that you're going to be able to add those blocks that you do here. So as you can see here, We have section 3, section 2, and then section 1 here at the top. All of those have just different either paddings to the left. So these are called kind of gutters, as you'll see here. And then they have different columns, which would be those columns where you can add those blocks in there. So for me in particular, you can obviously add them wherever it is you want. So if you want to add the section above everything, which I don't recommend to do. I mean, we have this is where the banner will go. So I would definitely just kind of keep that in there. And really nothing should be going above that banner itself. But if you have the need or you want to do something, you can obviously do it there. But for this particular page where I want to put the new section will be between the title and then where that body would have gone. So I'm just going to put it on right here. So I click on add section. So the things that you'll see when you add in the sections, you'll see all these different types of layouts. So in some cases, you may see more than just these bootstrap ones. And in case that you do, make sure you navigate to the bootstrap columns here. So that's actually we're built off of bootstrap theme, and these ones are going to work best for when we want that responsive design. Now, because I'm looking to create 3 columns and I want to put text side by side, I'm going to go ahead and do that here. I'm going to click on this 3 columns. The next thing that will pop up, you have your container type. Again, you'll have to kind of play around with this a little bit to kind of really understand how this exactly works. So you just want to kind of keep the default, the box with gutters. That just means that it's putting that padding that you see on the side, and that's what you'll want for the most part. So all the content itself is aligned. When you start playing around with edge to edge with no gutters, that's going to be kind of like how the banner is, where the banner, it stretches the full width of the web page, and so that's how you get that effect. So there might be some cases where you want to do that edge to edge, but just know that if you're playing around with that, that's just what it will do. But definitely you keep the defaults. So the box with the gutters is mainly where you're going to be at. So the next thing you'll see here is that you'll have the different views of how you want these columns to be structured. So if we want them side by side, 3 columns, we can do that where they're all equal distance on the desktop. So on the desktop view, when people view it on their computers, that's what it's going to look like. They're all equal columns. And of course, we have some other ones to kind of to do. If you wanted the left column to be a little bit bigger than the other 2, we have 50, 25, 25. So that's what those percentages mean. Again, that is something you can kind of play around with depending on how you want your page to kind of look and feel. For the most part, it's always good to kind of keep them equal. So I'm going to keep it for the desktop. I'm going to be side by side with each other. On the tablet, should be able to handle it fine. There'll be no problems. I'm going to select equal width for each of those columns. But for the mobile, now we know that obviously when we're viewing things on our mobile device, it doesn't look great when we have those 3 columns side by side with each other. It's just there's not enough space there on the phone. The screen's a little bit smaller. So I know that I'm just going to want them to be one column that goes all the way across, and then they'll stack on top of each other. So that's where that full width means. So when it's 100%, it just means that now each of those 3 columns that I created will just stack on top of each other and take up the entire and turn into one column. So I'm going to do that for mobile. And again, this is something you can always go back and change. So if you had this for the tablet and you go and you look on a mobile tablet and it doesn't look great, you can always go back in and just say, okay, I'm going to want this to be just a one column stacked on top of each other. So you go ahead and you can change it there at a later time. So, but we'll stick with this. And now it has given me a new section with 3 columns, all equal widths. So anybody have any questions on that part? Rebecca, so no, on the mobile, for that one in particular, I don't think that it has the ability to go from 4 to 2. I think you'll have to kind of strategize on how you want that to build. Now, so yeah, you'll have to kind of play around with that. So So here, I'm going to go ahead and add in a block for each one of these here. Wait for that to load. I'm going to add in just a text block. That's what I want in here. So I'm just going to add in a basic block. A basic block is just, it gives you a text block. Again, kind of like what you've seen through other parts of the website. You'll have the WYSIWYG. You can change the text format. But here, it's just going to be text. So I'm going to add in, this is some text for a cool page that I am creating. I am really good at doing this stuff. Or if that makes me sound defeated, I didn't mean to. I was just kind of writing what was coming to my head. So for this one in particular, I kind of want to do that center text. It doesn't allow it for the basic HTML. I'm just going to go ahead and upgrade this to full HTML. Going to select this and then kind of center this text. I'll copy this. I will add this block. And I have my text here. So I'm going to do the same thing for each one of these. Basic block. Change it, full HTML. Sometimes I am not great. Again, center this text. Add one more. Basic block. The last block I am creating with text. Hopefully this will stack when I show how it looks on mobile. I will add this block. So now I have those three text blocks side by side with each other. And that was the kind of the look that I was going for. I'm going to go ahead and click Save Layout here. So obviously you can see that has that effect where it shows those three texts side by side. And if I could show it here, let me see if this will work for you guys so you guys can see this. So I'm going to make my screen a little bit smaller. Everything's going to start sizing accordingly. So this is kind of good test of how you want it to look on mobile. All I'm doing, you can't really see that I'm dragging, but I'm taking my browser and I am just making the browser smaller just by clicking and dragging. So as you can see here, the smaller I get, things will change. Obviously, we see the hamburger is one of the first things that comes up. That means our main navigation is kind of being a little bit more mobile friendly. We have that change for the tablet. And then once I get a little bit smaller here, you're getting smaller. There you go. So this is kind of more mimicking what it looks like when it's on mobile. So which means that now the columns that I created will start stacking on top of each other. So now you know it has that good mobile responsive design to it. Does anybody have any questions on that? All right, Maria says, how do you add a button link to the basic block, or do we just use a different block for that? So a button link. So again, it is similar to kind of how you will use it when you're writing the bodies of different pages or different kind of content. You could definitely link off into there. I think we want to, one of the next things we want to do is start enhancing that experience with the WYSIWYG. So you can kind of add in just a basic link or like a little button link. So we're definitely going to improve upon that process. You can obviously do it there. There's not a particular block that's just for a link, but you should be able to add the link through the WYSIWYG of that doing that text. So, but that is something that I think we want to make that a little bit more user friendly, and we'll improve upon that. So when you are just adding, if you're just adding text, but then you want to add a button that goes below that, you should be able to do it now. But I want to say 100%. But if that's not there, you might be able to find it under the full HTML. But that's something we'll improve upon to make it easier. Any other questions? All right. So now that we kind of went over that, I'm going to give you guys your kind of your first task to do. So I'm going to switch over to presentation. And we're going to have you just create that basic page. So we want you to create a basic page. We're going to use this page for other tasks that we're going to do here later on. So let's start off with just creating that first initial basic page. And we're going to create a layout with that. So we're going to add, you're going to go to add content, create that basic page, name the title something relevant just so you can find it later once we have to look back for it. And then don't put anything in the body. Then once we do that, you're going to add it to, you're going to add the main menu. So you're going to, I think here it says my cool page, but I actually just named it cool page this time. So just make sure the parent item is cool page and then click save. Once you do that, go to the layout, which is going to be at the top. Whoops, sorry. You're going to go to the layout at the top, and then you're going to remove the body block. You're going to remove the menu block. And then at the bottom of the page, I want you to add in a section with 3 columns. And then just add in a basic block in each of those columns, kind of just what I just went over. Let me know if anybody has any questions. I'll give everybody about 10 minutes to work on that. Yes, Maria. Let me send you. I think I have that link. Let me send you the link where you sign in. Go there. The username is going to be user, and the password is password 1234. No problem. Again, if you want, if you kind of finish a little early, if you want to add in that banner image, you can do so as well. If you have an image you want to upload, so just to kind of get a little base of a landing page created. Okay, got about 4 minutes left. Any questions? Anyone running into any issues? It's called a basic block. Yeah, so you just want to use that to add in the text. So Jeanette, when you first do that add the block, there is a button at the very top that says add custom block. You want to click on that, and then it should bring up the different types of custom blocks that you can create, and you want to select basic block from there. Okay. We'll wrap things up in about 1 minute. All right, seeing some pages already under cool page. Okay. Go ahead and let's go back to the website. All right, so what you notice is that obviously we have some pages that are starting to fill out here. I'm just going to select here just one as an example. Real cool world. As you see here, obviously, yeah, we have text side by side. It's kind of what we were trying to go for, which is a basic page with a basic layout. So I'm going to go back to my page. We're going to kind of dive a little bit deeper with our landing pages that we're creating here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on layout. So one of the things that we notice, obviously, that we're talking about when we do this, right, it's only one block at a time. And it could get a little bit cumbersome of adding those blocks. Maybe there are certain blocks that I want to see across multiple different regions. So for example, and I want to show you guys how to kind of create those reusable blocks. And we're going to put it on two different pages here. I'm going to show you. So quickly, you're going to navigate to the left-hand side of the admin menu. Under admin menu, you're going to go under structure, and then you're going to go to block layout, and you're going to see this custom block library. I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and I'm going to show you this. So what this is that here is the library of custom blocks that are created, not the ones that you necessarily have been creating on individual pages. These are ones that are going to be kind of universal blocks, ones that can be added onto multiple different pages. You don't have to keep recreating them. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a block that we can use on those different pages. Now, keep in mind, your thought may be, well, if that's just kind of so I have universal, why don't I just create all the blocks that I need on here, and then I can add them into the page later? You could do that. However, just note that if you start doing that and you're really only using that block in one place, like you're just putting in some text that's only pertainable to one particular page, then you have this going to start building out this library of all of these custom blocks, and that side menu for when you're adding in those blocks will start to kind of grow and grow, and it's going to be harder to kind of find when you just want to add in one particular block. So definitely come in with the mindset that if you're adding something to the custom block library, so it's reusable, know that you're going to reuse it on different pages. So I'm going to go ahead. So when you're on this page, again, you can go through and take a look at everything that's already in here. So for this, if you got a site that was spun up with demo content, you'll see those demo blocks being able to, so you can reuse them on different layouts and pages and stuff. So that's what you'll see there. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to create a custom block here at the very top where it says add custom block. When I go up here, I'm going to add in a, let's do a Google map, something simple enough. So the block description, I'm going to change this. Usually, like I said, when we've created those custom blocks, just kind of leave it as whatever the default was, because you're just kind of, you're just adding it one time. You don't need to find it later. However, for this one, I'm going to have to find it later, and it needs to make sense of what I'm doing here. I can't just put Google map. I need it to make sense. So this one I'm going to call Tim's house. I don't know who Tim is. I'm just putting this out here. So I'm going to do a location. So this is also, we'll show you how to kind of use that, create a map, using Google Maps. So right here, I'm just going to create, going to use this location. And then I'm just going to click save. So this is a very simple block, but definitely powerful if you want to kind of, if you're doing something you want to show where it is and you have a little interactive Google map, this is how you would do that. So now, once I create that, I'm back at my custom block library. It shows me Tim's house. So then now I created that reusable block. So I'm going to go back to, my my cool page. So I select right here. I'm just going back up to the content overview. Look for my page that I was doing. So cool page. Here we go. And if you ever, from when you're working on your particular pages, you need to go back and find it in case you didn't link it off to that main menu. You can always find it here by going to the content overview. So I'm going back to my cool page. So you just want to go to the layout. It takes me back here. And then now I'm going to add in that Google map, Tim's house. So let's actually do it. Just load. I'm actually going to do it in the middle. Put it in here. And instead of going to create custom block, obviously I already have it. It's in my library. So I'm just going to scroll down here and I'm going to go where it says custom here. Then I'm going to find that block that I created, Tim's house. Here it is. I'm going to click on that. So here it'll come up to configure block. Now this part where it does do a default, just title, this doesn't mean anything unless you want to put some kind of label that goes above everything, right? So if I wanted to label it as Tim's house, I can write Tim's house in there. But for the most part, you might probably not going to need to do that. So, in order to display that, I would have to click on this right here. But I'm just going to leave it as such. Click save. And it has added my map in here. So that's great. That's what I wanted. I didn't have to re-enter in everything. It was exactly, what I wanted to do. However, now I want to show you what you can kind of do with this. So for this one in particular, I am going to just save the layout. Whoops. I am going to go to Real Cool World. I'm going to edit this layout. Scroll down. And I am going to add it here as well. Go back down to custom. Find Tim's house. Add the block. And it is now on this page. And again, you add it one place, you can even add it twice on the same page. I'm going to add it here as well. Sorry for whoever's page this is. I know I'm filling up your stuff. You can go ahead and delete this once I'm done here. Scroll down. Whoops, scrolling too much. Tim's house. Add the block. Reusable blocks. Simple enough. I'm going to save the layout. And I have added those blocks in there. Does anybody have any questions on this reusable blocks? Okay. So the reusable blocks is definitely going to be something that's going to be very helpful for your site. It's going to be very useful for when you just want to display, you're going to want that maybe a set of cards to display on multiple different landing pages. So definitely I definitely want to practice that for you guys. So let's go ahead. We're going to move on to our next task here. We're going to create I want everybody to create that reusable block. So you're going to go into the structure, the block layout, and you can look at the custom block library, just so you kind of get familiar with that. Maria, there's no easy way to kind of list it to a bunch of different pages at one time. That goes into kind of using the old method of how Drupal was kind of using blocks. And we're trying to kind of get away from that a little bit. Now, if you were to create let's say for a content type, let's say for all news articles, you wanted the same banner image, or you wanted the same card sets that you were throwing in there for whatever reasons, whatever that may be. Or maybe it's just a view of relatable articles. We can always set something up where for the default view, that layout for all news articles, we can put in that banner image. So they're all the same. And it will technically just be assigned to all of that content, all of the news articles that you create at one time. So you don't have to keep doing it every single news article. It's just something that we actually don't even give the ability to change just one news article at a time. You would just have that set for all the default ones. But it is possible to do it that way. But for these pages themselves, if we're just creating a bunch of basic pages and landing pages, because you can edit each one individually, you'll have to go in and do just place that reusable block on each of those pages. But once you do that, obviously, if you change the block once, it changes it on all of the pages, and you don't have to worry about it. And also, if you move pages around, kind of the old method of how Drupal used to work, if I change the URL to that page, or I moved it under a different navigation item, and then the URL is updated, then it will break some of those blocks. And you have to kind of go in and then re-add it onto that list. So this time, if you carry it, this stuff will carry over from no matter where you move it to. So for the second task, I'm sure some of you have already started. So definitely still give you about 10 minutes to do so. But you're going to go into the custom block library. You're going to add that custom block. I want you to select text with image. So give the title something, again, so you can go back and find it. You're going to fill out the fields. You're going to add that image in there. You're going to add in, you're going to do the crops that you need to do. Then save that block. And then go to the content overview page. Find the page that you created. And go back to the layout view. And then place the block in two different areas, just wherever. So I'll give you guys some time to work on that. Let me know if you have any questions. anyone runs into any problems, just let me know. Oh, I've been talking with my mic off for a while. Sorry. I think the problem that you're running into is for your images, you might need to save each one of the crops. So make sure you go to each one of those crops, click on the image if it's fine with the default. Okay, so you got it going. Yeah, so go ahead and do that and then click save. I'll give everybody about 1 more minute. Okay, let's go back to the website. Does anybody have any questions? All right. I am going to just update this particular page. So it looks like we have a David Bowie picture here. Okay, so this looks like the same block, obviously just used in 2 different places. So that works. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of click on mine. I'm just going to add in just a block that we see here. So let's take a look. Somebody added on here. So let's see. Let's go back and edit layout. I'm just going to add one up here just real quick. I'm going to select from the list that was created. Maria, I'm going to use your text with image. Add the block here. Scroll up a little bit. And I have a text with image. So obviously with this, I can be able to kind of move this particular one around. If I need to kind of go in there and update that text with image, I can go ahead and do that. The same goes for this one as well. So if I just configure this particular one, just the text with image. They should be side by side. I'm not sure why it's not showing up as such. I'm just going to create a test one in here real quick. Yeah, Maria, it should. Let me just take a look here. I want to make sure we're doing the right one. It should be the text with image. So I'm just going to grab some text here. Add in an image. Can use Pioneer Pete here. Insert this one. Okay, that's actually something we might need to look into. They should be going side by side. Not sure why they're appearing right below the other. But they should be going side by side. You guys do this correctly. For some reason, the images should be right next to each other. So I apologize about that. We'll have to look into what's going on with the CSS of that one. Oh, yes. So, Casey, if you had change the layout of the block, yeah, that will change that particular block layout for everybody. So that might be the issue here that we're running into. So let me see if I can go back in here and just take a look at this. So let's go back to the custom block library. Okay, you switched it back already? Yeah, so I guess just for you guys to kind of note, so when you are able to, for that text with image, and when we're doing things here, you have the ability to change the layout of that particular block type. So if I were to click on these block types here, and then I wanted for this text with image, if you go to that manage display, that is a tool, obviously, that you can be able to kind of change things around. Just leave the stuff as default. That you could kind of, if you wanted to get more advanced into this type of stuff, do it on a different one that's not with the what's built into our platform. If you want to test it out, create a new block type, play around with it that way. So let me see if that changed it back. If Casey changed it back, let's check. Okay. Looks a little bit better. So as you see here, we have the text and image side by side. This is one of the things you'll be able to take advantage of. I'm going to go back up to layout. I didn't save my layout, but as you can see here, I was working on something, right? I put in Maria's block. I put in my block, just to test things out. Just note that it's kind of already there in kind of a draft state. You don't see it right away. But it's not until you go back and click save layout does it save those changes that I do. So just so you know, while you're working on stuff, if you accidentally leave the page, doesn't mean you lost everything you were working on. Just means that it's saved in there. You just have to, if you don't see it, go back to the layout page. And then now that I saved it, it shows those things side by side here. So, but yeah, thanks, Casey, for switching that back. So now we have those reusable things that we can use here. We can add in. So that text, again, it goes back to whatever you can do in those WYSIWYG editors. You're adding text in there. You can add it here as well. So again, if you wanted to add that button to the bottom of your text, you can do that as well. Now, Maria, like you asked, like how come it's not going the span of the column? So for this particular block that we've created to allow you guys to use, it kind of does that 25-75 kind of look. So it will maintain that. So if I move that down here, this is a smaller column, which is why it kind of looks a little bit smaller than the ones that are up here. That's because that this is 2 columns here, and it fits within that column that it is in, if that makes sense. So again, it's one of those things that you'll play around with. You can have it look where it fits into those different places. And then, but yeah, so that's why this one appears bigger. There's also some things that you can kind of change in these particular blocks to make it so they're flipped. You can have, so it's 50-50 instead of this 25-75 look. But out of the box, and this is kind of what we have in there, we're going to try to make those things a little bit easier. So if you wanted to flip it for this particular block that you have, you'll have the, we're going to give you guys the ability to do that, but it's still a work in progress to making sure those tools are going to be a little bit more user friendly. So again, I am going to go back to my layout here. Okay. So now we're going to get, now that everybody kind of gets a handle on those reusable blocks, those are something obviously that will be helpful as you're creating your blocks for your pages that you're creating. So for this one in particular, what we're going to do now is that we're going to get a little bit more creative of what we can do here. And I'm going to show you some of the tools that are built in with the layout builder and things that you can take advantage of. So I'm going to add in a new section just below. I'm going to remove these blocks that I added in here. So remove block. Keep Pioneer Pete in there. I'm going to remove this one at the bottom. Okay. And I'm going to show you something else here as well. Just some things that you can kind of play around here with. So for this page that I want to do, if you wanted to just get rid of a section and end the blocks that are in here, so just know if your blocks are in here, it'll remove it as well. But if I wanted to get rid of this section for this page that I'm working on, if you click on configure section, again, it brings up this menu so you can kind of change things around as you need, as you want to do. But if you scroll down to, actually, I didn't click on the right thing. I think it is this little X button. If I click on this X button, it asks me if I want to remove this section. So for me, yeah, I don't need it anymore. I'm going to remove it. So, and then I want to add in just another section below here. So in place of it. So here, I'm going to create something simple. I'm going to create just a one column. That's all I need. I'm going to do the box with the gutters, get the default. And then you'll notice these other two, tabs that are up here. You have your styles and your settings. So I'm going to go ahead and click on style. Now, style, here you can start getting a little bit more creative with those sections you're doing. It does take some time to get used to. It's not going to be just as easy as just being like, oh, I'm just going to add in a background color and it should look good, right? No, you might have to do a little bit more with the blocks, the sections, the spacing. That's all going to kind of come into play. And these are just little tools, though. Definitely recommend going in here and playing around with it and kind of get used to it. You can make some, interesting stuff with it. So for this one in particular, I'm going to go to this first tab. You have your background. So with the background, you have the 3 different styles. You can either do just a basic color. So the whole span of the whole section will be that color. So I'm just going to click. These are errors. I think these are blue technically. I'm not sure why it's not showing up there, but I'm going to select just one of them. So select one of the colors. So now the background of the section that I'm creating is going to be blue. You also have the ability to add in an image. So if it's just going to be a background image you want to put in there, it will do that as well. Again, caution with those type of things. It'll take some time. You might have to use the right image, but just know that, like I said, play around with it. You can also put it in a video. That would be the background, like some kind of background video. Again, I definitely would say practice caution with those things, because your site can start looking pretty bad quickly when you start doing those things, because it might not look or work the way that you want it to, or it might just be more of a hindrance for people on your site. But I'm just letting you know that those things are available for you to kind of take advantage of. Next, we have typography. So typography, if you want everything in a particular section to have all white text, you have the ability to change it. Again, you can just leave the default for whatever you're working on. You have that ability as well. You can have all the text in there to be aligned with center. You can change it there as well. And then going down here, you have your spacing. So spacing will be something that's going to be useful, and we'll get to that in a second. They just mean that the spacing is going to be between different things here. And we'll get to that again in a second. Margin, similar. I would just stick with padding. Don't worry about margin. That's just kind of another, if you know CSS, you might have the ability to know the differences between the two. But for the most part, if you don't, just kind of stick with padding and don't worry about margin. Lastly, there is a border. So you can add in just a border that may divide just 2 different sections. You can do it all around the entire section, just the top, just the bottom, and then you can have the different styles, whether if it's a solid line that border is, if it's a dashed, or if it's dotted. Again, you probably won't do the border too much. Don't worry about the border, but that option is there, and then you can change the color of that border, and then the radius. But you have the ability to do it. Don't need to worry about it. And then this last thing, this animation. So this animation is actually kind of cool. So you can play around with the different types of animation. I would definitely just kind of keep it simple. Use fade in, or fade up and fade down. So you can play around, take a look at all these things. Some of them can get a little bit wacky, but you definitely will have the ability to kind of do these things to kind of have little small touches here and there on your website that could look really nice. So you'll have those different animations. So before I start playing around with this and getting a little bit creative, Does anybody have any questions on this? Okay. And yeah, just to point out kind of what Maria is saying, yes, be careful with this because you could affect your accessibility score by playing around with these things. I would definitely say do it. You can always check your accessibility scores with different tools. I know we offer one with Moncito, so you can definitely see how that affects your score by adding those things in there. But definitely keep in mind for this type of stuff. So you can test it out, and then you can test your score to see if it has gone down at all. So, but yeah, but let's play with some basic stuff here. So I'm going to add in a section. I'm going to change the background color. So click save. So now, as you can see here, this adds in this light slate blue right behind the section that I'm working on. So for this one in particular, all I'm going to do is add in a text block here. Rebecca, so that depends. So there's a lot that kind of comes into writing your own custom CSS. And that's something we can kind of dive in a little bit deeper. However, with people who are going to be adding in their own individual CSS, I think we kind of want to give them a little bit more training to actually using a style sheet within the code base. And that's a whole nother like just topic and things to talk about. We don't have a little quick CSS editor in there, at least yet. I know there's some tools that we could download and play around with, but for what we have today, it's not available, but it could be in the future. I think if we get a little bit more people want to play around with the CSS that's there. But for now, it's going to have to be an individual style sheet that you'll work on, and we'll show you kind of how to add those. And you kind of have, if you're going to be adding those type of things, that's something where we want to make sure that you have the training, the capability, and doing it the correct way. So it allows us as maintainers. So if myself, Thomas, Ralph, whoever it is needs to kind of go in, and then there's something kind of wonky about the site, CSS, any kind of other code that may be injected into there, we need to know exactly where it's at. So we do have a kind of a standard way of how we want those things to be added in. So again, that's kind of a very long answer to what you're asking. But yes. So quickly, okay, I'm going to add in a basic block here. Again, I'm going to just throw in some cupcake Ipsum. Again, if you weren't here for the last training, definitely my favorite Lorem Ipsum generator. It's called Cupcake Ipsum. Definitely recommend that. So I have my text in here. I'm going to add the block. So to add it into the section, I'm going to scroll up and click Save Layout. So I'm going to scroll down here, and here it is. So you might take a look at this and be like, well, that doesn't look the greatest. There's things that, I think we can make that a little bit better. So again, we have to start getting a little bit more creative with this particular, with this layout builder. So I'm going to go back up to layout. One of the first things I'm going to do, because that is kind of really writing that top line of it, I'm going to want some spacing to go in there. So I'm going to go back to configure this section. Let's do some stuff here. So for this one, I'm going to want to put in, let's put some spacing in there. I'm going to add the padding. I'm just going to do it to the top and to the bottom. Usually that's what you want to do. Don't worry about putting it to the sides or doing it all the way around. Top and bottom is where you're usually going to want to play around with that spacing. So when I click on top, you have the slider here. I'm going to slide it across, and it doesn't really tell you any kind of value of what you're trying to do. Do it before that very last one. You can see it changes to 64. I think technically this builder is still a work in progress. It says 64. you might think it's 64 pixels. It doesn't really look at like 64 pixels. So I would, it's kind of relative. So I would definitely just put 64. It's kind of what gives it a good spacing for it. So I'm gonna do that for the top and for the bottom. So again, go to 64, kind of puts in some spacing, and then I'm going to update this. So taking a look here, you can already see it's starting to get a little bit bigger. So I'm going to click save and just see what that looks like. Scroll down. All right, looks a little bit better. It's not hugging that line. It gives me a little bit of space. But yeah, I think there's some better stuff that we could do to it. So let's go ahead and let's go to layout. Configure this section. I am going to go ahead. I'm going to do something here. So let's say I wanted to change it to green, and we'll change this typography. I know that white is going to look better than black. It's not going to stand out as much. I'm going to change it to black here. Maybe I want the alignment to be center. And then I'm going to change this animation. I'm going to add in a fade up effect. So start with that. And I'm going to click update here. Boom. You get ready to see. Now it's starting to it could get a little bit crazy when you're doing this stuff. So definitely recommend just play around with it, see what happens. We're just kind of playing around with things here. So I changed the text to white. It kind of looks, I can't see it anymore. That might be something we just need to fix, but it is there. So let's take a look at it real quick. I'm going to go ahead and click save layout. Scroll down to the bottom. And here we go. That created a, like I said, just puts a little banner at the bottom if you wanted that effect. Not necessarily saying that that's just what you want to do, but you do have the ability to kind of play around and kind of create those things. If you didn't notice, let's go back up. I'm going to scroll again real quick. When I scroll, as you can see, I don't know if you guys noticed that effect, is that when I scroll to that particular section, it gives me a fade up effect. It kind of comes up and it fades into view. Again, these type of things can look nice, and that's the effect for the entire section. I could do it just like this way, and let me show you this. Just like we have the ability to kind of change that and add that animation for sections, I'm going to take it off of this one here. You can do it to individual blocks as well. So if I go into style, I'm going to go back down to animation. I'm going to put it to NA. I don't want the whole thing to do it. And update this. Yeah, Alex. So what we want to do is that I think eventually we want to start building out those colors for people to kind of use. One, it's going to be kind of standardized, just so people don't put in like absolutely crazy colors in there. There's going to more in line with what our themes are. Now, I think the reason why you see some of those two that are kind of blacked out, and technically when I clicked on it, it was a slate blue. I think that's because that they're technically those two ones are supposed to align with what our theme is going to be. So if I ever change my base color from a blue to maybe a green, then I think those ones will change, those ones in particular. So it kind of matches that theme. So those are still a work in progress. Those color custom swatches, we want to add more in there. I don't think you're going to be able to kind of just add your own in there, at least not yet. But for the time being, we're going to have just those default ones to kind of work around and play around with. And then we're going to eventually add more on there. They're going to look a little bit nicer. Now, I just removed the animation for this section, but what I can do is that for this block of text, I'm going to go and click on Manage Attributes. Actually, sorry. I am going to go, actually, block attributes. Wrong one. Configure. Actually, I don't think we have that set up. At least not for, I apologize. My apologies. It would be under manage attribute. This might be something we need to fix, but you would have those same things where you could have those different tabs and then add in those individual animations for just particular block. So that's something that I think we're just gonna have to go in there and add on. But these are those type of fixes, just so everybody knows, as you guys are working on that, we will fix those things and then kind of deploy it out to everybody once we get some testing and stuff like that. So just note, that's why it's always kind of advantageous for you to try to stick with what is default. And then we're going to be improving upon that process, and you'll have more selections, more tools at your disposal. So for this one in particular, again, I'm going to go back to this configure, this section. I'm going to change the background. Let's go back to this, a lighter gray. Change this to black. The animation, again, you can pick an animation. Some of these can look very weird, so be careful. But I just like the fade up, fade down are usually kind of like the best bets to go with. Fade up kind of is a nice little touch that could be on your page. So again, update this. We have this in here. Click save. And there you go. Playing around with those effects, definitely, like I said, you can obviously do that. You can put in as many columns as you want. You can put in the text, you can put in the these maps. There's a lot of things that you can kind of go ahead and start playing around with and doing in those particular things to kind of make your page just look a little bit more unique. Now, as we're coming up to the end of everything, does anybody have any questions as far as playing around with this? Alex, I don't think so. Not out of the box, but that parallax effect, I think that's something that we do want to look into and kind of offer as something with that background. So if you did put an image in there and it has that parallax effect, that's something that we want to look into. I don't think it's built here out of the box, but we definitely want to get something streamlined in there so that you have the ability at your disposal to kind of play around and add that into your pages. But that is something that we are looking into. Does anybody have any other questions? Okay, so another thing that I know that we can do here, let's do this real quick. Again, like I said, you have the ability to change these particular text with image. So I'm going to select manage attributes here. When I click on the block attributes, I have these classes here. Now, we're definitely going to go away from this because it's not the most user-friendly. We definitely want something where if you click a button, you can swap, reverse the images here. So I believe one thing I could do is just do 50-50. I'm going to update this. That is not... Okay, maybe this isn't the best demo to be showing this. I'll have to retest that. But you'll be able to add in classes that we have to kind of change things around. So it was a 50-50 split instead of this 25-75. So that's something that we're going to show you guys how to do if you guys have any questions, because you might see some sites that have that 50-50 look or those images are flipped. We'll just let us know and we'll go back and kind of help you kind of get that same look and feel. But does anybody have so the next thing to do, I know it's running up in time. We scheduled out an hour and a half. I have this last task. You don't have to stick around and do it, but I definitely want to open this up for Q&A. This last task was to kind of get a little bit creative with those pages that you have kind of created. I say just add in 3 different custom blocks in different areas you want to do. Add some spacing, make sure things kind of look nice. Definitely start playing around with those pages. And we let everybody kind of just have the time to kind of get at it. But if anybody has any questions while people are working, let me know. Alex, no. So one thing that people might be used to from the past is that there used to be like a CSS injector or a JavaScript injector. We definitely wanted to go away from that because it was kind of causing more problems than it was kind of helpful for people. Because the problem that we ran into is that when people added in those injector files like CSS, it would override things. It could have broken something, and then when it did, and we had to go back in and fix it, it was really hard for us as maintainers to find and fix those issues that may have been caused by adding in those injector code. So we've kind of gone away from that. And if people want to start, if people have the ability and the know-how and they're familiar with adding CSS, using style sheets, using doing JavaScript, we definitely want to provide kind of a course to show people what's going to be the best way to do that. You should be able to know how to use something like FileZilla to add in that style sheet into the right place. And that's something that we can go over with you if you plan on kind of doing a lot of CSS as a web builder. So, but that would be something that you kind of come to us and we will go through it once we talk a little bit more. If you kind of want more of those abilities, however, with more ability, obviously comes more responsibility, and we need to make sure that we train you in the right way to do so. Jeanette, yes, we will have Will send you. If you could just also send us an email, myself and Will, just to send you over that recording. We'll send you over what we have. All right. Any questions? Anybody else have anything else about anything? It could just be not necessarily about this training, but maybe some stuff that you guys are working on with your own sites. Okay. I will let everybody kind of just get. You want to play around with your pages to give everybody about 7 minutes to be working on that. But yeah, and if you have to go, you can go ahead and drop off now. But I thank you for everybody for attending. We're gonna kind of tweak this. Definitely give us some feedback of what could be done a little bit better on these trainings, and then so we have them so we tweak those for the next trainings. Alex, the next training is going to be on March 9th. Again, we're going back to kind of the basics training. So for the people who missed that, we're kind of offering it again. We'll do an advanced training again in about a month from now. But we'll maybe go over the same stuff, but maybe add in a little bit more to kind of talk about some stuff. So, but yeah, definitely from what you've learned in the trainings that you've done, go back to your sites that you have and play around with it. Add it on there. Let us know what you can and can't do, or something that maybe you need a little bit more permissions, and we can fix those things for you. All right. For those of you who are just sticking around, I'm gonna start playing around with my own page so you guys can see. Again, if you guys have any questions, just shout out. Let me know. All right. Thanks, Jeanette. All right. Let's see. For this one, I'm just gonna remove this stuff. All right. Thanks, Maria. So those of you who are sticking around, if you guys notice that when I add in the media of stuff that people already uploaded, I don't have to think about, oh, I need to re-upload those images, or I need to recrop them. I know that because you had to go through the process and crop those images, they will work for different things that I'm doing here. So this card 2. Mary, you still there? She may have stepped away from her computer. Well, I think you go ahead and stop the. Oh, okay. Yeah, Mary, if you want to, do you want to kind of go over and talk about some stuff? I guess some issues you're having. Oh, we could stop presenting. Okay, maybe just go over this.